snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books.
Hi guys, I am here today to do a joint review of two magical realism-esque books that I recently read. The first one I'm going to talk about is The Particular Sadness of Lemon Cake. This is by Amy Bender and it was my first exposure to her work. The second one I'm going to talk about is Reason She Goes to the Woods and it's by Deborah K. Davies, and this was again my first exposure to her work. So two new authors for me. So The Particular Sadness of Lemon Cake is a book that I went into with kind of like hopeful expectation because I really wanted to love it. I was actually gifted this one by Mercedes from Mercy's Bookish Musings, I'll link her channel, and I was very eager to try this because I'd heard really good things about Amy Bender from a lot of people who like magical realism. I definitely enjoyed this book. It was certainly a good read. It would have probably been a much higher rating from me if it was the first magical realism book I'd read, because I really loved the ideas within this. But because I read this one first, I couldn't give this one as high as I would have normally maybe given it, because the other one that I'm about to review I loved. Let's talk about what happens within this one. In this book we focus on a young girl called Rose, and Rose basically suddenly develops this weird, very strange mystical power where she can taste emotions within food. If you guys have heard me talking about Chew, the graphic novel series, it's kind of very similar to the idea within that. However, Chew is very gruesome and brutal. This is not. This is quite lyrical, quite lovely. The problem with Rose tasting emotions within food is that she can taste the emotions of everyone who makes the food. Her mother, for example, does a lot of home baking in their family. Her mother is one of those people who's kind of a little bit not wishy-washy as such, but can't quite settle on a career path. She tries lots of different things. She gets very deflated when she can't do it and very upset, whereas her father is quite a stoic figure who just has the one job, the one career, goes to it day in, day out and does it and gets on with it. Her mother's a little bit more free, a bit flighty, and doesn't quite know what she's doing with her life. So within this book, we start to see Rose as a young girl of about 9 years old who bites into her birthday cake and tastes the sadness that her mother actually baked into this cake. She starts, as she gets older, to kind of hone this skill, to find out a little bit more about how it works. She can taste where food has come from. She can basically get all the nuances as she gets older, and she starts to really know exactly what's going on with people from just tasting the food that they make. So as the years go by, she starts to see her mother get sadder and more upset with the relationship she's in, starts to see that there isn't really the support from her father's end, and she starts to realise that her family may not be as strong as she always thought it was. Not only this, but she also has an older brother who is quite introverted. He doesn't really like people that much, and he has his own problems going on. He has his own magic that he hasn't told anyone about, that you find out about later on in the book, and that too is quite insular. It kind of closes him off from people, and the same is true of Rose, our main character. She kind of doesn't want to eat around people. She doesn't want to eat anything that people have made. They are both magical things that kind of close them off and cut them off from people. So it's a really interesting look at what might happen when you're kind of isolated from others, and what might happen when you could sense emotion that people were trying to keep hidden from you. And it's also interesting because she is such a young girl. At the start of this book, you get to see her point of view on it, which is quite naive and quite young and innocent. And as she matures, you see that innocence sadly fading, and you see that this is happening a bit quicker than you would have maybe liked because of the powers that she has somehow gained. I really, really enjoyed this book as a whole. I think it made me think a lot. It definitely was beautifully written, and it was an easy read to get through as well. The ending was kind of a bit weird to me. I felt like the ending took a different direction from where I thought it was going to go. It wasn't a bad ending, but it definitely wasn't what I thought was going to happen when I started reading this book. So just bear that in mind if you go into it. It has a bit of a twist in direction. As a whole, it was a very likeable read, and I'll certainly be picking up more of Amy Bender's stuff in the future, so I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars overall. The next one I have to talk about is A Reason She Goes to the Woods, and this is by Deborah K. Davies, and again, this is a magical realism book. I don't know what I expected going into this, because I had heard about it on Mercedes' channel. She said it was really dark, really twisted, and so I was intrigued, but I didn't know if I would like it or not. I definitely liked it. The way that this book is laid out is quite interesting. It looks like it's a sort of average book length, but if you look inside, every page on the left-hand side just has one word as a title, so you can see that this one is just Pat, and then it has a little story which only takes up one page that relates to the title and also relates to everything that's gone before. And this is the same on every single page, so you'll see that all of these pages on the right are blank, all of the ones on the left have a story on them. It also meant that I got through this in one sitting, so I just read this from start to end without breaks or pauses. I really got absorbed into this story. We follow a young girl during this who is called Pearl, and I'm just going to kind of read you a little bit of the back because I think it kind of sums up the book a little bit better than I could. Pearl can be very good. More often though, she is very bad, but she's just a child, a mystery to all who know her, a little girl who has her own secret reasons for escaping to the nearby woods. What might those reasons be? And how can she feel so at home in the dark, sinister, sensual woods, a wonder of secrets and mystery? Told in vignettes across Pearl's childhood years, Reason She Goes to the Woods is a nervy and lyrical novel about a girl growing up and trying to be normal, even though she doesn't quite know what normal is. And as you go through this story, you do start to see that each of the miniature stories that you are told about Pearl is kind of a little bit disturbing, and you start to realise that actually her life growing up has not been normal. She doesn't come from a normal family per se. She comes from a family where things are not quite right, and certain things are maybe frowned upon, maybe even quite wrong. And you get to see some moments within this where she's quite young and she's kind of delving into some sexual things that maybe are a bit above her age. There are some quite disturbing moments. So if you're not into that, or you can't deal with that, then maybe this isn't a book you'll like. But if you do like kind of slightly twisted, slightly creepy stories where things are not quite what they seem, I think nervy is a really good way to describe this book. Kind of tense and nervy and on edge and very weird, then this might be a book you'll really enjoy. And for me, that's exactly what happened. I sat down, I read this, and I loved it, and I got so absorbed in the writing. Deborah K. Davies is obviously seriously talented at writing. She writes in the most beautiful way, so even these kind of twisted, messed up things that she's writing about come across as really beautiful and really haunting and really enchanting, which is kind of a weird juxtaposition. I think she's fantastic. I will certainly be on the lookout for more of her books. I don't think she's got any others out right now, but as soon as she brings out more, I will be picking them up because this was so dark and creepy and twisty and turny and fantastic, and I loved it. Pearl has a lot of violent and sexual tendencies, as I say, and there were certainly moments that made me feel uncomfortable. Like, there were some moments that I was sitting and I was reading it and I felt really uncomfortable and disturbed by what this child was saying and doing, and I think that's how it's meant to be. Like, you're meant to feel those emotions. Whilst Pearl seems quite unstable herself and has these really quite dark tendencies, as the story goes on, you start to see that these tendencies and these dark moments come from somewhere. They have an origin. They are there for a reason in this young child, and unfortunately she has maybe gone through some things that have kind of made her this way, or seen some things that made her this way. So I loved it. It's fantastically written, but it's maybe not something that's for everyone, whereas I would say that this one is probably something that will appeal to most people. So depending on which one appeals to you more, maybe pick up that one, but both of these are good reads. I definitely enjoyed this one more. I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I really want to read another book by her because it still kind of haunts me a little bit, which is great. Let me know down in the comments which one appeals to you a little bit more, because I would be curious to see which one was the one that most people picked up. Thank you all for watching. Leave me your thoughts if you've read either of these, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.